See, you should have never given me the power. All right, we're up and running. Going to start anytime soon. Okay. All right. So we'll should we hang on a second? Oops. All right, so let me just dip the music real quiet. Let me know when you want me to make a proper start, and that's what I'll do. Or if you want to wait a minute or two. Okay, we're going to make a start in a couple of minutes, I think. Just stay tuned. We'll I'm just waiting for direction, really. All right, let's make a start. So, whether we get anyone joining us or not, I want to introduce myself to anybody who might be watching this on catch up. So, my name is Rob. Actually, Rob Bradley. So, you know, a surname as well as a first name. I've been really lucky in that respect. So, I'm a rapper. I'm a poet. I'm a musician. And I've been asked to take over this session today. So I'm here to share some of them thoughts with you guys in the form of what I do best, which is performance, or at least what I like to think I do best, which is performance. So today, this is what this is going to be about. So if you're live and you're joining into the session and you are intrigued or interested or disturbed by me, whatever it is, then just ask away any questions that you might have. I'm going to start off by reading to you something. Now, this is my book that I wrote called Reasons to Write Rhymes. And I wrote this book because I make so many trips into schools and youth projects where we do work around literacy and poetry, and we use rap to do that. And I wanted to have something to take with me, basically, to kind of build workshops around and also to give people something to think about. I like to write about big things. I like to write about tiny things. And the space in between those two things, I kind of leave up to your imagination. This is one of the big things. And this is the first piece that I'm going to read for you. And it's called Blackout. We were born from the same dust that the stars and the planets happen to be made of. Make of that what you will. I'm just saying our galaxy's built with the same ingredients you have in yourself. Humanity, animal, plant, or mineral. Down at the atomic level, everything begins to appear identical. I only say that to say this. On them days when your human condition is just too much to live in, remember, your particular collection of atoms could have scattered wherever. They could have turned into a badger, a tractor, or sweater, or a storm cloud on Saturn, but they didn't. They attracted together and made you. What are the chances that would happen again? Could you fathom the extent of that miraculous event? To actually comprehend everything that had to happen, you would have to track history all the way back to Adam, or even further back to the first atom. Atom all up, and your life becomes the emerging pattern. But every day it's like we lose perspective. We believe what we're told and we choose to accept it. Now we're thinking small and we're falling in line and we beg for crumbs and we talk like it's fine, but it's far from fine. So as long as you have a heart and mind, see yourself in them stars that shine, because we were born from the same dust that the stars and the planets happen to be made of. Make of that what you will. I'm just saying our galaxy's built with the same ingredients we have in ourselves. Take that one in. There's no applause in this room. I'm just here by myself, so I'm going to do my best to fill the awkward silences afterwards. I really should have prepared some kind of Westwood sound effects or something afterwards, but I didn't. So, okay, let me jump over to the chat. Thank you, thank you for this virtual applause. So let's go for the questions. First of all, what inspires you to write lyrics? This is a good question, a huge question, which demands a huge answer, but I'm going to try and condense it into something a bit smaller and just give you a cop out answer, which is I don't know what inspires me to write lyrics. It's just a compulsion. It's just a feeling like I should be doing that with my life. Like that's the only appropriate way to make sense of the world, and to make sense of my own thoughts. Um, because we have a lot of thoughts, and that makes me think about this poem that I wrote called Something to Think About. I mean, that's a segue. So, what are thoughts? Are they real? What are they made of? How do they feel? We have so many in any given day. When one appears, can you think it away? We pull our thoughts out of thin air. We think of a thought, then, like magic, it's there. Do two different people with two different minds ever think the same thought at the very same time? Have you ever wondered if someone somewhere is thinking of you now and you're unaware? Some thoughts show up and it isn't a choice, like an unwelcome stranger, a trespassing voice. Sometimes it's a gift when a thought just appears like a flash of lightning, a life-changing idea. If you were to add up each one of your thoughts, would there be a million, a billion, or more? At times, what we think is not what we say. We swallow our secrets and hide them away. Some linger a while, some drift like a cloud. Now, isn't that all something to think about? Hmm, yeah, I guess it is. And my relationship with writing has always been linked to the thoughts. Never, uh, I write raps, I write poems. I never really go to the place of trying to write like because I think that would make me look good. I listened to this J. Cole album, this new one that came out this week, and there's a little skit on there at the beginning of one of his songs, and I don't know where it's from, but it's taken from a film or something, and it says, "Are you doing this work because it facilitates growth, or you want to be famous?" And that kind of hit home for me. I was like, every time I've ever wandered into, "Ooh, wouldn't people think I was good if I wrote this?" Didn't feel natural, but every time it felt like it was facilitating growth, then it made me want to write. It was like something needs to come out. Can't explain it. So this is what writing's always been about to me. Um, let's go for this next question, which is a good one. Do you ever get writer's block, and how do you shift it? funny, isn't it? Because we talk about writer's block as if it's a physical thing and it's in the way. And your question was, how do you actually shift it? How do you get rid of this thing? I always think of it like it's an absence of a thing. It's more like there, and I can't write at that point because, well, first of all, yes, writer's block, but I can't write because I've not filled the well up. So then I have to go away and listen to something or read something or watch something or go out and live something for a while. And all of a sudden I get back and the writing pours out. So I always kind of tune into my writer's block, as it were. And it's more like a writer's emptiness. Then I take that as my cue to fill it up. Maybe that's going to be helpful for you to start thinking of things like that, because some people say, how do you shift writer's block? But I don't necessarily think you need to shift it. You just need to do more or feel more or give more. Mm. It's nice to hear me close up drinking water, isn't it? All right. Any questions that you have, keep them coming. If you're finding anything interesting, if you find like you want to talk about anything, if you're a writer yourself or somebody who distills their thoughts into their work, put it into the chat. Let me know about it. I'm interested who we've got in here today. So what else am I going to read to you? Oh, yeah. Okay. So sometimes I've read to you two pretty kind of deep ones. Sometimes I like to put humor in what I write as well, or at least what I think is funny at the time. Um, I wanted to write this thing for quite a while, where it dawned on me that a lot of the sayings that we have, a lot of the idioms that we use, actually contradict each other. So people are full of giving you advice. People are full of advice, whether or not they're qualified to give you that advice or not. And I found that their advice a lot of the time would contradict another piece of advice that you might get elsewhere. And people like to distill their advice into little sayings and idioms. So I tried to capture a few of them that actually contradict, things that we might say and people live by. But it's like, yeah, cool. I know you live by that little mantra or that saying, but there's another one which just knocks that straight out of the way. So this is I called an idiom's guide to contradiction. If many hands make light work, is it true that too many cooks spoil the broth too? And if actions speak louder than words, is it flawed to say that the pen's mightier than the sword? And you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, correct? Then please explain how what you see is what you get. And if the early bird catches the worm, don't be late. But remember, good things come to those who wait. Yeah. So that was my poem called Idiom's Guide to Contradiction. So it was. Now, let's see what we got next. What do I think makes a good performer? Good question. Again, a good performer for me is somebody who gives. If we're talking specifically about performance, and if that makes me think about stage performance, but then these days, I guess it's kind of like camera performance as well. So there's a few things you can tick off and be like, yeah, good posture, good stage presence, good eye contact. But really, it's about authenticity for me. Like if you can see that performer connecting with their own work when they're on a stage, however big or small that stage is, or however small that space is, if they're connecting with their own work, that is the ultimate way to buy into that performer. Like it's only when I feel somebody feeling themselves, there's something in the air, and you're like, I buy into this. I believe in this. This person means this. They wrote this from the heart, or they're performing it because it means something to them. So for me, it's always about the sort of the context of why they're doing the work that they're doing, and that bleeding out of them when they're on stage. I want to tell you a little bit of a autobiographical story through one of my poems, which is called 6:45 at the Shop. Now, this poem is something that uh, I wrote because when I was young, was in kind of the teenage years, which is when I started to discover rap music and write my own raps. me and my friends always used to meet up after school outside this shop, and there was actually a row of 4 shops in a uninspiring place that I grew up in, Huddersfield in West Yorkshire, and we'd always meet there at 6:45. And I don't know why it's that time, but it was, and it was at that doorway that it actually became a really important part of my musical and writing journey, and I'll explain that in a minute. But before I do, a little bit of context: we used to play this game where you hold your hands like this, and the idea is you slap your opponent's hands with the goal of hurting that person as hard, hit them as hard as you can. If they move out of the way and and you don't follow through, then you get a free slap. And the same way, if you miss them, they get a free slap of your hands. And we would do many things outside that. We would play that game. We'd get up to some mischief, really, and then also a lot of rapping began to started at that shop. So I'm going to read this to you called 5 at the shop. Slap in the middle of a pebble dashed maze of semi detached homes that all look the same. There's a row of 4 shops in a terrace: a fish shop, paper shop, pizza takeaway, and hairdressers. And without fail, every Saturday night, we would meet there at precisely 6:45. There was me and 7 friends that lived nearby to stand at the steps of a shop and kill time. We had no plans, but for reasons unknown, under no circumstances was being late condoned. The shop, 6:45, be on time. And if anyone dared to come at 6:49, it was slaps with 3 free hits from everyone. Now that's a slap to your bare hands times 21. In June, it stung, but in January, well, you better hope to go numb before your skin cracks and swells. And nobody spoke of the pain it provoked, our suffering cloaked under insults and jokes. Each of us broke. We chipped in for chips. The moonlight bounced on our oil-glazed lips. We laughed into the night like howling wolves. We feasted together and went home full, just young lads with nowhere to be in life but the steps of the shop at 6:45. Now, outside that shop up in Huddersfield, I started to do something which would have an impact on the rest of my life. Now, what I'm going to ask before I tell this story is whoever's in the chat right now, whoever's in the group, I want you to start putting some random words into the chat. I'm looking for about 10 to 20 random words, any word in the world, while I tell this story, okay? So outside that shop, I began to come out and show everybody that I was starting to play with rap. I would be writing my own raps at home. I was listening to a lot of rap music, and I began to do some verses for people. Here's what I've been working on. Here's what I'm writing. Yeah, cool. Got a little bit of a reaction. People like, well, I guess that's an interesting thing that you're doing. Yeah, it's kind of cool, but whatever. You're writing about some introverted stuff, some things that are going on in your head. It's okay. And then one day I came out and I started to rap about them. But I started to look at them, what clothes they were wearing, how they had their hair done, if I knew that they got new shoes on, if I knew that they fancied a girl at school or something. I started to rap about it. And people started to turn their heads and say, how are you doing this, Rob? Because this is not something you've written, because you didn't know what shoes I was going to wear. You didn't know how I was going to do my hair. And I said, no, I'm just making it up on the spot. And they were like, you know what? You're kind of good at this. So this is where I began freestyling. And what I want to do, you can make the words that you put in the chat as challenging or as interesting or as multisyllabic as you like. Give me as many words as you want. What I'm going to do now for you for the next 3 minutes is to show you one of my freestyles, and let's see. I'm going to try and base it off the words that you're putting in there. So give me as many as you can, and I'm going to put a beat on, and we're going to start the freestyle. I'll show you what that looks like. All right. Here we go. Let's get a little bit more volume. All right, here we go. Don't be afraid. If you're in the session right now, put something into the chat. Let's try and make something completely off the head. This is the freestyle. All right, listen. This is the freestyle. I ride against that kick and that snare. It's completely off the head, meets my lyrics are unprepared. I didn't write them down, or these are not predetermined. I just take your rounded words and put them in my verses. I can say anything, I'm nice like that. I give you free lines, talk about felines like cats. Yeah, that's how it is. I freestyle without a plan. Yeah, you know, I get it popping like it was a can. It's off the head, they can't stop me, I'm dope, very. Yes, sir, of course, I'm sweet as a cherry. I'm better than any competition you could give me. Anyone from modern day back to the 60s. We could talk about decades, I'll rhyme in a stadium. Palladiums of people look at me like I'm an alien. Stood in the middle of them, they all start applauding. Of course, it's the rapper you're seeing here, and I'm northern, so I stand out. Yeah, I got the hardest bars, you can't start with us. They know the whole flow is just marvelous. And to freestyle on the spot is quite scary. And I always get it loud whenever I'm in libraries, yeah. You best believe it gets deeper and deeper. I hope you hearing me loud and clear and it's coming through your speaker. Yeah, I hope you know that I'm a flower. I get it, I open this up like it's a tin opener, throwing spinach out like I was Popeye. I'm just one guy, but it feels like I've got 101 minds, and I'm on time. Every line is nice like this, I never get stuck. I always keep my head in them books, learning that vocabulary, so my flow is always tight, it's precise. Now you can hear me live on this mic. When it comes to this flow, they know that I am so intelligent, definitely brilliant, heavier than an elephant. I spit this ridiculous with it, with these sick bars. I'm dope with music, play piano, strum the guitar. You best believe that I do it with ease. I hold it together with integrity. There's not an ounce of cheese. I might be the new version of Spike Lee, cause I've got a vision and my flow is so spicy. Yeah, I'm also a smart man. I'm northern, but not as far as Scotland, so I don't wear tartan, and I just keep inspired. You never see me bored, so I always either write lyrics or play the keyboard. You aren't ready for my hard rap. It's even harder than laying down some fresh tarmac. Yes, you best understand, I'm by myself. I got a billion rhymes, I put half of them on the shelf. The things that I'm just saying, or at least I'm trying to, has got more flavor than sipping on some iron brew. Yeah, I hope you know that I'm winning if you're keeping the score. They know the flow is adorable like a Labrador. Yeah, I know I blow my own smoke, but I am great. And you could keep your shade, I don't need that lampshade. I'm light, so I shine bright until I'm tired. They know I wake up in the morning, I'm wired. When I'm gone, you better remember me, cause I am definitely a heavy MC, and that's the truth. Give me any beat or give me any tune, I'll send my competition in a spaceship to the moon. They're gone, but I'm out of this world, I'm out of orbit. This is so impressive, check how I explore it. Of course it's sick and I will never fail. I could do it fast or do it slow like a snail. Either way, I really got to manage staying on beat, cause for me this is no challenge. Yeah, you couldn't ever beat me. I'm simply sick as sending a little kid up a chimney like they did back in Victorian days. How is that healthy? Tell me you're on the same page. Somebody help me. Everybody starts applauding whenever I rhyme. They know that I take my time, but I'm like rap's Einstein. Yeah, if you got a question, man, I got the answer. And I've got more presents than Santa or Father Christmas. Put me on your wish list. I can freestyle all day, it's almost like a sickness. Better understand that whenever I'm here, I rap till I'm cold, red nose like reindeers. Best believe I got bars all day. It's not a question, I could put them into my song, so they make some noise if they think it's cool. I'm like Kendrick when I'm jumping in the swimming pool. And yeah, you know me, never lonely, keep it low key, never spoiled as a child. My parents bought me no pony. I'm gonna lock that off, that's the freestyle flow, man. You share it, it's getting scary, this is how it goes, it's the freestyle. There we go. That's do you know why I stopped it? Because I could go on forever. And that's not even an exaggeration. I could probably go on forever. That was, that was so much fun. So now you know what? You can't just come down from that. You can't just segue into something else here. I need a we need a collective breath. That was oh okay. So that's That's the freestyle. That's 100% making it up on the spot. Give me your words. Give me something to talk about. I'll build it in there. We're thinking. My favorite thing about freestyle is what it does to your brain. This is like I have a little um kind of wish for when I'm older that like when I'm 90 or 100 that I'll still be able to do that because I feel like it keeps your brain alive. If you've ever tried this, if you've ever tried freestyling, you'll know what it does to your brain, how quickly you got to move pieces into place. It's like playing Tetris on the last level. It's just proper difficult. You got to get everything in there. But if you've never tried it, go to random word generator on Google. And every time you press spacebar, a new word comes up. Put a beat on, just try it. Um, see if any of it comes. All right, what are we seeing here? Okay. We dare you to do a 24/7 takeover. So 24 hours of improv rap. Okay. You see, you dare me to do that. It feels like a punishment. Like I, I mean, I like to eat as well. That's the thing. But we could do it. We'll talk budget afterwards. I mean, 24 hours. We'll work it out. Okay. All right. Excellent. Good stuff. Now let me tell you what that did to me outside there. All right. Maybe when I was 16 and I was stood outside that shop, maybe I was not quite as polished. Maybe I was still a novice, but I was, to be honest, I was still on it, and I was still freestyling. I can't help it. Um, so I was trying. I was still freestyling, but my friends were like, "Nah, you got something, Rob. You can do something with that." And I started to enter competitions, man, like rap battles, rap competitions, and I thought back to this moment of what it feels like to walk on the stage for the first time when I wrote this poem called "The Stage," and this was actually inspired. I wrote this one called "The Stage" because it did make me reflect on being 16. But I also wrote this because I used to work with a charity which worked with people with severe mental health issues, and I work in the studio with them, making tracks, making music, making beats for them, and then every term we'd have a gig. And for some of those participants, it was like watching them go onto stage for the first time to do the song that they didn't think they could write was like amazing. But some people perhaps needed a little bit more encouragement. But I wrote this on the bus home. I was living in London at the time, and I remember I was driving, it was about midnight, and we were driving through Brixton, and I wrote this in about 5 minutes. But I liked it because it reminds me of that night. So it's called The Stage. Remember, the stage is a mountaintop, and not everyone makes it up there. Some want the acclaim, the attention, and fame, but when it's time to climb, they don't dare. Some sit at the bottom and spend their life wondering what the view's like from the top. Some start on that journey, then turn back around and learn it's much safer to stop. But if you took the risk, accepted the challenge, and braved the onslaught of the storm, then the sound of your worries and doubts weren't as loud as the call from the stage to perform. So I actually, I really believe that like that stage has called me sometimes. And when I go too long without being on it, it's something I'm missing. So right now, this pandemic and all that, as we get into the end of that, I just can't wait to get back on stage. Um, so what should we do now? Is there a moment for you that stands out as being a pivotal point in becoming a musician? What was it? Hmm. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you a really corny story that's kind of like something you see in an American chick flick? Um, no, there's quite a few. There's pivotal moments that I remember from the formative years. This is why I like working with teenagers as well, because it was when I was a teenager that it really kicked into gear. So when I was like, 12 or 13, walking in my brother's room, hearing him play rap music, like hearing the lyrics for the first time, never hearing anybody kind of rap like that before. I was listening, there's like Tupac, there was like the Lauryn Hill and the Fugees and stuff. And I'd never heard anybody kind of say these things and put it over music. That was a pivotal moment in terms of coming alive. But the other one, the other one was like I'd started to rap for my friends. Like I said, I was 15, and we went to our high school prom, and we burnt CDs because this was the time of life when you burnt CDs. And we got a limo out there, like you do on your prom. and we were playing the CD, like it was a bunch of tunes for the late 2000s, uh, or the early 2000s, should I say? And um, then at the last two songs, I'd put on two of my instrumentals. Don't know why, just instinct, just like I'm gonna put them on. Who knows? We might do some little freestyle in the limo or something. That'd be sick, wouldn't it? Anyway, we got to the prom and it was like, I just found the whole thing quite boring, and I don't know where it came from. It's not, we weren't even drinking, obviously, like you do when you're a bit older and you kind of like, let me do something out of character. It was a moment of inspiration. I just went up to the teacher and was like, put my CD on, give me that mic. And I went on stage. No one in school, apart from like my little circle of friends, really knew that I rapped. And then all of a sudden, this beat came on. I mean, I don't think the beat was that good. I made it when I was 16. It probably wasn't that good. But either way, in my mind, it was a full packed house. Everyone was going crazy. I'd love to see the footage back because they weren't going crazy. But in my mind, they were. And it was just, yeah, it was amazing. So that was my first time I kind of came off stage and was like, performing is sick. I need to do this more. I need to hone this. And that's a moment that I definitely remember as being pivotal. But 2 weeks after that, I went down and met some of the most inspirational people in my little in my town. So there was a community studio there, which was called Connected To at the time. And for the first time ever, they invited me. They were doing like a little end of year celebration thing, and me and a couple of friends went down to it. They asked us to jump in a cipher. That was it. The first time I dropped lyrics in a group. It was amazing. So 15, 16 were really important years in terms of me getting involved. Um, so I mean, I'm in my 30s now, so it's kind of like, you know, the decisions we make at certain points of our life take us on journeys for the rest of our life. So it's yeah, I like to think of those times. Um, oh, I could go on forever. How long shall I go on for? Because you know, well, I'm easy, by the way. I'll go on for as long as you want me to. But what do you reckon we should do? I've got a few more to read. Slightly losing my voice, but I'm also want to perform something on the piano as well. All right, okay. You have a question, Tabby. Just ask the question. How do you think COVID has changed the landscape for that was that was such a contrast that just ripped the plaster off. Da, da, da. How do you think COVID has uh, changed the landscape for now for new and emerging musicians? Sorry for the COVID question. No, it's it's a really significant event in like everybody's life, and I have actually thought like if I was 15, 16 when this happened, I don't know how I'd cope with it. And those opportunities that you just wander into when life is open and it's free, and you go wherever and you find little opportunities, and they kind of like magnetize you to them, and you before you know, you find yourself at your first gig, and you find yourself on stage, or you find yourself taking opportunities or meeting people. That's not been there for the last 18 months. And I don't know how that impact, I don't know what people would have done if it wasn't for COVID. I can never predict that. But what I can say is I know what they haven't done, and they haven't had that. Now, arguably, you can make the argument that, well, maybe we've all gone online and we've blah blah blah, but nothing compares to being in person. So I hope it hasn't discouraged musicians. I know as somebody who's been doing music my whole life, it was like I've had enough experience to think it's a year and a half, I can ride it out. But it's also taken a toll on me because I'm thinking, I just want to get back at it. Like, what do I do? And I love being in rooms with people, working. So I think it's affected everybody, no matter what stage they were at. For young musicians in particular, I really hope it hasn't discouraged them from uh, from kind of throwing themselves into situations, and hopefully they can do that. people make music because they have to. I think that's the case for a lot of people. And if that's still there after COVID, I think they'll still go out and find those opportunities and find those people. So the good thing is it's coming to an end. Fingers crossed. So those people get back on it for sure. Any other questions or anything like that? Or let me perform maybe something. Um, Before we get onto the piano, uh, in this book, there is some long ones. There's some shorter ones in here. I like to write some kind of just quick things, some like sweet little ideas that I have sometimes. So this one I called Holding Hands because you asked about COVID, and this is something that we've arguably not been able to do, shake hands or anything like that. So this one's called Holding Hands. Every day our hands hold so many things: handles, keys, soap, sponges, drinks, buttons, food, phones, pens, and pans. But none mean as much as other people's hands. We pick up, we switch on, we use, we play. We get bored, we put down, and we throw away. But when two people's hands mold together, a memory is made that we might hold forever. I also really like a poem that just has really good ending. Like the last line just sums it all up. Like you might spend the whole poem going, "Oh, I thought we were going there, but oh, we're actually going there." So I wrote this called Skin. You don't really think of skin as an organ, let alone your largest and maybe most important. It covers each corner and coats every curve, protecting your bones, blood vessels, and nerves. The pathway to both pain and pleasure, from sweeping feather to cold, sharp rain, a patchwork quilt of moles, marks, wrinkles, blisters, pimples, scars. Fingerprints make it your own custom suit that can't be cloned. It turns to dust, it peels, it flakes, and regenerates in 28 days. It heals itself as if by magic. It bends and stretches like elastic. How sad then when we judge each other by such a small thing as its color. All right. I want to move on to, let's go. One last question to finish us off. What advice do you have for young people wanting to get into the music industry in general? Sorry. Um, I would say that um, it's a strange place because it depends what job you're doing. If you're being an artist, then the world, everything's up to you. How you shape it is part of your creativity. How you represent yourself, how you present yourself. But for artists, I would say that always be led by that initial feeling that you had, that compulsion to sit down at the piano or to sing or to write. Like that needs to be the lifeblood. You might be trying to be an artist in the world because everything else is just unappealing compared to what you're doing. So you need to keep that part of what you're doing sacred. The process has to be sacred. You're going to come across a lot of things, a lot of pressure to bend and shape a lot of different ways. A lot of people in your ear, managers telling you, try this, do this, whoever it may be, social media making you think you've got to keep up with somebody else. But that thing has to be sacred and you have to go back to it because that's what brought you to the dance. And that's what you need to keep going back to so that when you're exhausted after doing loads of gigs and when you're tired of trying to meet people and make connections and when you're reevaluating what it is that you do, you can always come back into a room and be like, this is my center. So um, definitely go and pursue what you're doing. Tread carefully and remember what's at the core of it because no one can take that away from you when everything is said and done. People might have an opinion on you as a person, as the way you do things. Your relationship with your own craft and your own art is the most important thing. That would be my advice to anyone who's pursuing life as an artist. Of course, in the music industry as a whole, there's loads of different jobs. So it depends what you. I mean, I can only talk as an artist. That's the only job I've done in the music industry. So that's my answer. Should I give you one more? Or you want to wrap it up, or should I give you one more and then wrap it up? Going to wait for an answer on that. while I give you more drink. It's more ASMR drink. Yeah, of course. All right. So this one is called Getting Older. I've written this as a poem in the book. It lives in the book, but it lives in the world as a song. You can set it to music, basically. And it's all about two characters. I'm so sorry about that. That's the worst. So sorry. All right, let's do this. It's about two characters. It's about a mother and a son. At 7 years old, he was king of the road when he rode his BMX bicycle on his own, and she chased after him, proud and concerned. He pedaled with all he had and remembered all that he'd learned. She shouted, "Brake before you turn." But he just wanted to make the rubber burn. With no stabilizers or hands on his shoulders, with sheer joy he yelled out, "Mom, I'm getting older." At 15 he was growing up fast, talking back, smelling the smoke and growing a tash. And she was working overtime and had a short fuse. He wanted more freedom, she wanted more rules. He'd fallen for a girl and had a chance to stay alone at her place while her mum and dad's away. She said, "No, you'll come home like you're supposed to." He said, "I'm not a little kid, Mom, I'm getting older." And our lives become as silently as clouds in the breeze. And time slips away. Guess them hours were not ours to keep. And oh, your face reminds me. At 21, he was ready for the world, eager for success, independence, and for girls. And she helped him pack his bags when he moved out and drove him 200 miles down to a new house. Bubbling with anticipation, he unpacked. She said, "If you ever need to, you could come." He said, "I appreciate that, but them days are over. I need my own space now, Mom, I'm getting older." Then at 30, he found himself stuck, single and broke with his career in a rut. And she listened while he told her all his woes, with a patient ear for him while they spoke on the phone. She said, "You know, we finally paid off our mortgage so we could help with rent if you have a money shortage." He said, "Nah, I should be a homeowner and I should settle down now, Mom, I'm getting older." And our lives become shaped as silently as clouds in the breeze. And time slips away. Guess them hours are not ours to keep. And oh, your face reminds me. By 35, he had figured it out. Found himself with a wife, a couple kids, and a house. And she would babysit the children every Sunday night so he could have some alone time with just his wife. He'd come back and tell her all about raising kids, how he loved it, but how the pressure was changing him, how his hair's getting grey and thin. And when he showed her, they both laughed when he said, "Mom, I'm getting older." Then at 46, he was always working, rarely with his family, so he saw it as a burden. And she told him, "Take the pressure off yourself." He said, "It's not as simple as that. See, I'm compelled and the kids have gotten bigger, and I've paid for an extension, and I've booked a holiday, and there's the mortgage and the pension, and I'm not getting no younger, retirement's getting closer, and I can't afford to risk it. I mean, Mom, I'm getting older." And she just listened. She always did, but now she's lost her vision. So listen is all she could do these days. She smiles and lines consume her face, and her body's so frail. Her hair's turned bright silver, and there's 10 conditions she takes pills for. And she said, "We have come so far, and I know you're getting older, my dear, but we all are." All right, so there you go. That was getting older, as we all are, and this is something that I wrote out as a poem. Originally wrote it as a song, thought it's going to work as a poem, and then also uh, it works as both. So this was really nicely illustrated by a guy called Joseph Witchell, who illustrated my book for me, and he did this in kind of each stage of what I've just told what the song was about, and blah blah blah. The last page is beautiful. Let's go. So there you go. Really nice illustrations. I'm going to read you one last poem. It's going to take me 20 seconds because part of the thing about being an artist as well is that you have bad habits, and um, not everything is, it's hard work to come up with new music, and it's easy to procrastinate, and working on your career is constant and everything. So there are some bad habits. So I wrote a little poem called My Worst Habit, and it goes like this. I would love to write a poem that's a work of art, but my worst habit is I never finish what I. All right, thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you found this interesting. And if you're watching this back, I hope that you share it and do all that stuff that you're meant to do, liking and subscribing and following me. My name is Rob Bradley, so you can come to my channel and watch loads of my music. Yes, it's been a wonderful experience, hasn't it? Just, yeah. All right. What do I do? Just end the stream or what? Say goodbyes. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. I hope to see you in the flesh one day. Yeah. Bye. I'm going to say bye, and no, thank you all. Thank you everyone. Get it loud in libraries as well. This has been a pleasure. This has been the Rob Bradley Takeover. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you feel inspired. Maybe keep working on your own or start something new. And maybe, like I say, I'll see you in the future. So all the best. Oh yeah, and I'm going to be at the academy soon, of course. Like terrible plug-in work. All right, yeah. So I will be at the academy water in Wigan. So that's where you'll see me. If anybody's coming down to that, come down to the workshop if you can do. All right, goodbye for real this time. Bye, bye, bye.